are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
The Oklahoma Sooners basketball season is about to start, and of course, us as Oklahoma fans are very excited for it. We're going to get out and we're going to show up for them and support our guys this year. We're going to talk about the roster that's coming back to Norman this year for this men's basketball team as they are about to start and kind of kick things off with their season starting on Monday, November 4th against Lindenwood. Very excited for basketball season. Let's get into it here on the Sooner Spotlight. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sooner Spotlight. If you would, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. You can check out our merch store and everything else that we do here on Sooner Spotlight over at Soonerspotlight.com. Go check it out over there. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, if you'd like to keep up with me and keep up with the show. You can follow me over there. That's at Real Josh Mahler. Check me out over there for all updates. And, of course, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed, guys. It's a big deal for us here. We want to keep on growing this channel and grow not for our own benefit, but to grow with you guys. And the supporters that we have so far, you guys are amazing. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. If you would, if you're already subscribed, please hit that share button. Just share it. Share it with a friend, share it with a group of Sooner fans, share it on social media, wherever you see fit. But let's go ahead and get into it because, of course, with the football team and the football program not looking so good this year, we're ready for some sort of redemption to move on to something that we can at least be proud of and be happy about. And it's hard to be happy with what's going on in football right now as a Sooner fan. And I get that, Sooner Nation, but we've got to stay strong, still got to support our team. And you know what, we're still going to stick with them through the football season. But let's just jump on to a brighter note because new beginnings, new team, new beginnings over with this new basketball team. We've got a lot of people that are, a lot of players that are going to be kind of new to us on this roster with the transfer portal, all kinds of things. Let's jump into it. And first, one of the biggest ones that I think we're really excited to see on the court, and that's guard Jeremiah Fears. We're very excited to see this freshman get out there on the court. He's a Chicago kid, very speedy, very athletic, and honestly, the way that he's been hyped up, we're expecting him to be a starter. Coach Moser even says that he's been very coachable since being at Oklahoma and since being in Norman. He's been one of those young guys that's willing and eager to learn and get out there and just try to do anything he can just to feel comfortable in this new league for him. He's never played a collegiate game, and so this is really big for him. Even though this team is going to have a lot of young starters like Jeremiah Fears, even though that they're all very young, there's something about that, and I think that Coach Moser is hoping that they can all grow together and that they can all mature together, and that's really his plan here. It's very tough to come together with a very young, talented team in today's really college sports anywhere. Not just basketball. We see that in football. We see that everywhere in college sports. The way that players are able to transfer out and teams are able to utilize the transfer portal, which is something that I think Oklahoma did very well this past offseason. So, even though that they're going to have young starters, Coach Moser's really hoping to be able to build upon that and be able to mature the team as a whole, not just working on with one player at a time, like Jeremiah Fears, who I think so far from what we're hearing sounds like he's matured a lot and that he's very much ready, about as ready as you can be as a young freshman getting into his collegiate career. Jeremiah Fears, he watches a lot of extra film. That's something that's been said about him. He's watching extra film, getting extra shots, and getting a lot of extra shooting practice just in general, just getting those shots off, building that muscle memory. And again, like I said, as fast as he is, as athletic as he is, as a guard, he's going to be a very big key piece to this team, and he shows a lot of excitement in developing and contributing to this team right away, first year on this team. So very excited for Jeremiah Fears and what he's able to do for this Oklahoma basketball team this upcoming season. And of course, we're going to see him first this upcoming Monday against Lindenwood. That's going to be at Lloyd Noble Center. So Sooner fans, please show up and show some support for this basketball team, because we're not known for being a basketball team, right? We've had those good years with Trae Young, and even last year, very close to making the tournament. Didn't quite make it there. And, a very good team, though, and a very exciting team to watch. And guess what? Later on in the season, we're even going to have that Bedlam rivalry jump back up. So make sure to stay tuned and jump in there and support this basketball team, because being a part of the SEC, we need to have more than just a couple of sports that we can lean on. We really want to be able to lean on this basketball team to really, assert ourselves into the SEC. It's very important for us. So Sooner fans, show up and be loud for this basketball team. Let's go ahead and move on. We've got Jacob Fredson, Jacob Fredson Cole, kind of a hyphen in there. I've heard others just call him Jacob Cole, so maybe that's the way I should be calling him. But he's a redshirted freshman. He was on the team last year, redshirted last year, and he really embraced it. That's something that Coach Moser was talking about. Sounds like he really embraced redshirting and trying to grow before hitting the court and before getting out there. And Moser even brags about how much stronger he's become because of his off-season strength, and conditioning and all his planning during this off-season. So his strength plan has helped him tremendously, and he's really gotten bigger, gotten a lot more energetic, and shown not just athleticism as a big forward, but he's shown a lot of strength, which is something that you need. That's something that I think Oklahoma lacked in last season, was just the depth and having these big guys down low and being able to battle in the paint. That's something that I think is very important, and something that seems to have been worked on, specifically with a freshman here in Jacob Fredson Cole. So it's very exciting to hear all of that, and he's a big that brings just a lot of a word that was used a lot with Coach Moser was toughness, showing that toughness down there. He's also very energetic, very high energy. He's able to kind of bounce around and really keep himself moving, even if he does just stay down low. A guy that can really move around a lot. So excited to see what he can do as a redshirt freshman, really acting as a true freshman this season, getting into it. We've also got Jalen Moore and also Sam Godwin, kind of bunching these two together as seniors, both forwards. These are a couple of guys that I think are going to be a couple of guys that were going to be very big key pieces to this team, even when they're not on the court. They're going to probably still rotate in and rotate back and forth with each other quite a bit, but being a couple of seniors, Coach Moser was really happy, and the reason why I wanted to combine both of these guys as seniors together is because of how Coach Moser was talking really kind of in unison about the two of them, talking about how both of them he was very excited, very happy to be able to bring both of these guys back, especially in today's college sports where it's tough to bring guys back. We lost some guys that we really wished we could have kept from last season's roster, and it's very tough to keep those guys around with NIL. You've got to keep on winning with them at the program, otherwise they might hit the transfer portal. And so it's very difficult. He was very happy, Coach Moser was very happy to be able to bring these two guys back, especially with their them being seniors and their overall leadership that they bring to this team. So both on and off the court, going to be huge for this program and huge for the team this season. It's tough. It really is tough to retain guys, and these are two guys that I know Coach Moser was very happy to have stick around. The leadership from both these players it's going to work best for teaching the young players. We just talked about that, how there's going to be a lot of young players out on the court, and they're going to have to try to mature and grow together. Coach Moser really believes that with the leadership from their peers is going to be a lot more beneficial to young players than just leadership from coaches. And I think that's true in just about every case. I think that's true in all levels of sport. When peers can teach peers, it just works better. When I first got into wrestling when I was pretty young, I believe just young junior high, so maybe 6th or 7th grade, I got into wrestling, and it wasn't necessarily what the coaches could teach me in fundamentals that was helping me, but it was one of my best friends and one of my teammates that really helped me exceed, and succeed. And it was that I was able to get in there and learn, not just by somebody telling me the moves that I needed to make to be better, but it was the fact that, hey, this is a brand new sport to me. I don't really know what that's supposed to feel like when I'm in that situation. And my buddy, who was also a teammate of mine, helped me really excel, and I became very good at it very fast because of what he was able to teach me as a peer. And that went a lot further than what the coaches could really offer. It wasn't that the coaches weren't good coaches. I had 2 or 3 very good coaches throughout my wrestling career, and and they helped me a lot. But it was the peers that helped me the most, and that's the same thing that I think Coach Moser is really hoping to have on this team, is having peers step up and help each other out. Specifically with these 2 seniors, between Jalen Moore and Sam Godwin. Sam Godwin was a force last year, and we know that. And one word again, a word that Moser kept on using to describe these guys. It was just over and over again in his statements. He kept on saying tough. He kept on describing them as tough. These guys are very tough. When I see these guys out there, they show the toughness that they've got. It was just, that was the word that he kept on using for a few different players. But when talking about these 2 in unison, between Jalen Moore and Sam Godwin, kept on mentioning how tough they are. And they are. We know that from seeing them last year. So it's going to be very big to have these 2 guys out there on the court and back in the locker room with the kind of leadership that they can provide for this very young and not necessarily young in age, but young in the fact that we've got a lot of new players coming to the team, whether they're being freshmen or whether they are guys that are transferring in. So it's going to be very, very big for this, having these 2 guys on the team. Going on, we've got Kobe Elvis, a guard who's a senior, transfer from Dayton. Remember, Dayton was a pretty good basketball. I feel like Dayton's always been a pretty good basketball team. Last year specifically, pretty good basketball team. And, he's a senior. He's a guy that really can be a key rotation piece with, real experience, not just experience off the court, not just experience and being a part of a team, not just practicing with a team, but bringing that real life experience from actually being out on the court in big time games and big time moments. That's something that is very good to have with Kobe Elvis coming in, being able to help out in that regard. And again, hitting that transfer portal the way that Oklahoma did this past offseason, man, this is very, very good for Oklahoma, bringing in a guy like Kobe Elvis, this transfer from Dayton. The impact that he can have specifically in the pick and roll is going to be one that I think is going to be very big. He can be known for not just being a scorer and putting up the numbers night in and night out, but there's going to be nights where he's going to be kind of quiet in terms of points. You're not going to hear his name called for scoring the bucket so much, but he's a very good facilitator as well. So he can really bounce back and forth. And what that does on the court is it opens up not to where you just have a guy that's able to get down there and score, because then teams are just going to start guarding him and he's one-dimensional. That's all you really expect from him. So if he's setting up in the pick and roll, you expect him to score. Instead, he's going to be able to facilitate as well. So you're going to have nights where he's quiet and he just is able to pass that ball off. Maybe he gets the ball in a pick and roll and dishes it back out to somebody else who's able to score, or dishes it back to the guard that gave it to him in the first place. Maybe he fakes the pass. Now he's able to score. So the versatility is very important for that role. And Kobe Elvis is absolutely a guy that can really be big in both roles as a facilitator and a scorer. So that's awesome to see. I'm very glad that we were able to pick up a guy like him in the transfer portal. And I think that's going to show this season. I think I'm very excited to see what all he's able to do. A few more guys I want to bring up. First, going off with Bryson Goodine. I'm not really sure if I'm saying his name properly, but he's a senior. He's a guard, so again, more big time players that are key players, I should say, guys that are going to be a key piece to this team. He's going to be one of these key rotation pieces that has true experience as a senior. He's also a transfer from Fairfield, so he's actually, if you take his stats, he's top 3 catch and shooter in D1 last season. If you compare his stats with other catch and shooter type players, very, very good player. Another guy that I think, if you don't know who he is or you don't know where he came from, I think he can be kind of an underrated piece that we're adding to this offense. I don't know too much, about his defense, but I know that on the offensive side of the ball, going to be very huge for this offense because of how he's able to score. And on top of that, with his release, I watched some highlights from him trying to figure out who this guy is. He's got a very high release, very very difficult to guard and to block a guy that releases it as high as he does. For example, I know Russell Westbrook in his younger days, he doesn't do it quite as effectively anymore, but specifically with that mid-range shot, what was so difficult for even a big guy to cover on him was that his feet come like close to 2 foot off the floor, it feels like, every time before he releases that ball. It's high up in the air, so with a short reaction time, and it's pretty quick for as high up as his release is when we're talking about Bryson here. And so I think that's very important. It's very big for this offense, an offense that struggled at times last season when the defense was able to get the ball back in their hands and move down the court on offense, struggling to find pieces that were able to score and score quick. And I think Bryson is one of those guys that really helps. He's one of those guys I think is going to be a key double-digit scorer, the way that he can catch and shoot and the way that we can rely on him to make a quick score when we need it and draw some of the attention. And like I said, a very key rotation piece that he may not be a starter on the court often, if at all, but when he is on the court, he's going to be one of those six-man guys that are going to really show up for this team, specifically on the offense. That's what I see most from him in what I've seen from him in the past. But going on, we've got Mohamed Wegu. Again, another guy that I'm not sure that I'm actually saying his name properly. I should probably try to look up pronunciations of their names. But Mohamed Ford, senior, again, another senior transfer from Alabama. So a guy that's used to the SEC and used to the SEC on a very good SEC team. Alabama, I would say, is really a top 2, top 3 team in the SEC currently, right up there with, I think you've got to throw in the possibility of maybe Arkansas now, Kentucky, and you talk about Auburn. I think those are the top teams. I think Alabama and Auburn, really the 2 Alabama teams, are the best teams in the SEC right now, the top 2 teams. I guess Florida is usually a pretty good basketball team. Where else can we look around? Texas A&M usually knows how to put together a basketball team. I mean, the SEC is a very good team in all sports, a very good conference in all sports. And so, getting Mohamed over from Alabama, very, very big, and he averaged 8.5 minutes per game. So it's not like he was just there sitting on the bench and maybe just got a little bit of experience around the team. He was a part of that team and a part of a very, very much so winning team. I believe made the Final Four last season, if memory serves me correctly. Made it pretty far in the tournament. So, it's very big to be able to get a guy like this. And OU, like I mentioned just a minute ago, OU really needed that big man, that big presence down low where it felt like they didn't have that toughness that Mosier keeps on talking about. Instead, we got pushed around a lot down low, and teams were able to score on us. I think going back early in the season last year against North Carolina is one that I can think of that I felt like if we had a bigger presence down low, and I mean bigger physically presence, some tough guys that were able to push other guys around rather than being pushed around, then we could have really came away with that as a win, and that would have been a huge win for Oklahoma last season against North Carolina, especially the type of game that was as early in the season as it was. And what that could have put forward for this team. It would have been very big. Anyways, we need some big guys, and Mohamed's one of those guys that I think adds that big, tough presence down low. And we needed not just a big guy down low, but we needed depth down there, because I think we could rely on Sam Goodwin to kind of be there for us and seeing that. But we needed that depth. We needed somebody to be able to replace him and put it in. I think back to the Ryan Spangler days, and then I'm drawing blanks on names. I know we had a couple other big guys too that we were able to lean on, and it was good, and to have that depth. Where last year we just didn't have the depth. We didn't have anybody else to lean on outside of who was on the court as a starter. So bringing a guy like Mohamed is one of those guys, definitely going to help out with that big position and the rim protection and keeping the pick and roll threat open as well. So when you've got guys that are off the court that are your main pick and roll option, you don't want that threat to go away. You still want that to be an option, so that way you can utilize that to trick teams. You set something up that looks like a pick and roll, and instead you slide into something else. And so I think that's very important. And Mohamed is definitely a guy coming from Alabama that I think we can rely on him to give us that depth and rim protection when we need it. Now, the biggest thing for him, when I was looking back at his stats and some of the things from last year, is as long as we can keep him out of foul trouble, we've got some very good depth. if we keep him as a depth position. Who knows? He might even be out there for a majority of the minutes, depending on how he ends up playing. So as long as we can keep him out of foul trouble, I think we will be just fine. And I'm very excited, very happy to have another big-time transfer. Another freshman. Let's bring up Peyton Forsyth, a guy that I think, we have a lot of high expectations out of him. Being an Oklahoma guy, a guy out of the Sooner State, he's a point guard that works really well off the ball, which, is something that I think is very important. You got point guards who are very good at being the key facilitator and coming down the court and setting things up. But it's important to have that point guard, that is able to swap back and forth with you on that. He's the facilitator, but then all of a sudden he hands it off, and now he's a guy that's working really well off the ball, getting open, helping other guys get open, drawing some of the attention away. This is a freshman that I don't know how much of a key piece he's going to be for this Oklahoma Sooners team this year, but I do know for a fact that based on what I've heard about him, based on the hype around him, he's going to be a guy that could really help this team out and at least be a depth player in that guard position that we can really lean on. So Peyton Forsyth, sorry, I said Peyton. That's my handwriting. I know that's not his name. Dayton Forsyth is his name. So I apologize for the wrong name there. That's all on me. I thought that sounded wrong, but I guess I got to know what my own handwriting is trying to tell me. But Dayton Forsyth with a D. He's a guy that I think is going to be, one of a key contributor very early in his career. Whether it's this year as a key contributor or not, I think time will tell. I think based on the hype around him, though, very excited to see what he's able to do this season. But yeah, I think overall, looking at this team and looking at the roster, what we bring in, the way that we were able to hit the transfer portal this season, I think it says a lot about the type of coach that Coach Moser is, and what he expects out of this team. I don't think he expects this team to go in there and just because we lost some guys that we're going to fall off, that we're not going to be quite as tough as we were last season. I think he wants to come in here just as tough, if not even tougher than we were last season. So very excited to see where this leads for this Oklahoma Sooners basketball team. Hey Sooner fans, did you enjoy this video? Well, go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you doing if you've made it this far and haven't already? You should be able to find that subscribe button over here. And then if you want to see full episodes, we've got those up here and clips right down here. So go check that out. But we thank you all so much for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.